listening to the Blue Raider Podcast, presented by Gold's Gym of Tennessee. Your all-access pass to everything Middle Tennessee sports, game recaps, player spotlights, and the latest from the heart of Blue Raider Nation. Now, here's your host, Jay Golden.
Welcome back into the Blue Raider Podcast. Today's episode, we're going to be previewing that Week 2 matchup. The Blue Raiders travel all the way to Madison, Wisconsin to face off against the Badgers. And joining us will be the guys from Bucky Report, Rajeev Chhabra, the co-host there. They'll be telling us all of the lowdown on what's happening up in Wisconsin. But before we do that, let's thank our sponsor. Before we get into the episode, I need to thank our sponsor. Gold's Gym has been the mecca of fitness since 1965, and to celebrate their 60-year anniversary right now, you can get a month-to-month membership for just $19.65 bi-weekly. That's no commitment, full access to all 16 Gold's Gym Tennessee locations, and top-tier equipment to help you level up your fitness no matter your sport. But here's the deal. This offer is only available online, and it ends when the summer does, so don't wait. Go to goldsgym.com and lock it in today. Gold's Gym Tennessee. Train like a legend, no strings attached. Now, let's get back to the episode. Joining the podcast, it is Rajeev Chhabra, co-host of the Bucky Report. Rajeev, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Jake. I really appreciate it.
I came on your show earlier in the summer. Of course, I'll have to plug it for the fans that might have missed that opportunity. And man, how ecstatic and enthusiastic I was for the season at that point in time, and a disappointing week 1. But my fans here have heard enough about it. We've already gone through our sorrows this week. Let's hear it from you. What's going on in Madison? I know that wasn't the outcome you guys necessarily were looking forward to. A win's a win. That's how I like to look at it. But what's the perception after week 1 there in Madison?
Yeah, it's a bit of a mixed bag right now. I mean, obviously, we had the unfortunate occurrence of losing our starting quarterback in the second quarter, which derailed the offense a little bit. Defensively, we couldn't be happier. We pitched a shutout. I know we're playing Miami of Ohio, but that doesn't matter. We allowed 117 yards of total offense and gave up no points, 2 interceptions, 4 sacks, three sacks maybe. I mean, just an unbelievable performance from the defense. So that's really exciting, right? That was an issue that we kind of had last year. The thing that we're concerned about, of course, is the quarterback. Billy Edwards, transfer from Maryland, went down with what appeared to be a non-contact knee injury. So everyone was like freaked out instantly, but it turned out it's a sprain. He's week to week. He's not going to play this week. But then the other issue was the offensive line really was a big sort of sticking point. The left tackle, we had all kinds of issues on the offensive line. So there wasn't like the offensive excitement wasn't there. The defensive excitement was. So just kind of let's wait and see what happens now. Can we fix some of those issues that we had? But as you said, a win is a win. It's always good to start 1-0, and then we can build from there.
You talking about all the things that really scare me as a Blue Raider fan, and we'll really deep dive into what to expect this weekend from you guys. But the other interesting thing here is Luke Fickell going into his 3rd full season at Wisconsin. He obviously had a great first year. Things really fell off last year. I know the offense is kind of reinventing itself, and then like you already touched on, the quarterback's kind of changing over. What is the feeling about Coach Fickell? I know, like I said, the first game is probably less than stellar, but does he get a pass because this new reinvented offense and now the quarterback's down?
I mean, I think he gets a pass just because, for the 3rd year in a row, we've had a quarterback injury. Right? We had 2 years ago, we lost Trent Mordecai for a while. Last year, Tyler Van Dyke in the Alabama game tore his ACL. And this time we lost Billy Edwards on the first play or the second quarter. So, I mean, ultimately, he's going to get the season. We're going to see how it happens. But I don't think anyone's too frustrated because the defense did improve so drastically. But this is a year that we need to see improvement, right? We were 5-7 last year. We can't have that again. So we need to see drastic growth from this team and from Luke Fickell. We still expect that. Jeff Grimes, our new offensive coordinator, going back to kind of Wisconsin power football, the way that what made us successful for so long, but adding in more of a modern twist and multiplicity into the offense. So I think that there's a lot of excitement still about what's happening. Certainly frustration after week 1, but we've got a lot to build on. And Fickell, this is a prove it year for Fickell. It's not he's got to win 10 games, but we have the toughest schedule in the country by far. But it's show improvement, show growth, make strides on the field, be a better, more reliable offense, and get some defensive pressure back, which from the first week we've seen. So there are still some positive signs. Fickell's in a fine spot. He's just got to keep going this year.
A lot of things you're saying were echoed this last week. I'm having deja vu, but we'll continue on with what Wisconsin has. Tell me a little bit. In this day and age, we have a lot of turnover at the G5 level. Is Wisconsin in that same boat? Are you having a lot of turnover from season to season? Is this year a bunch of new guys?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a ton, but we definitely did. I mean, for the most part, it's been upgrades, right? We've done good work in the transfer portal. Vic Fickle's recruiting classes have been fantastic. The 24 and 25 classes were really good. 26 still early, and not looking the greatest, but the 24-25 classes were fantastic. So he's definitely brought in good guys. Yes, we're losing some every year in the transfer portal, of course, but he did what he had to, and he filled the holes. Obviously, we got our quarterback. We had to go out and get a tight end. We did that. Had to go out and get a left tackle because our starting left tackle tore his ACL in spring. And we've got some other guys on defense, some new guys on defense. A lot of them are really just from recruiting and have been with the program, but some guys up front are new, which is really important because that's a place that we struggled last year. We didn't get enough pressure up front, and we didn't have the size to really deal with run stopping. So that's really improved. There's a lot of new pieces to the team, but it's not like wholesale changes. Our offensive line mainly returned. Our running backs are back. Our receivers mainly returned. So we added pieces here and there to really sort of amplify what we were doing and to make the program a little bit better.
Tell me, who are the names that Blue Raider fans should know about? Who is going to be kind of key contributors of both sides of the ball for the Badgers?
Yeah, so we'll first start with the signal caller, of course, which would have been Billy Edwards, but he's hurt. So Danny O'Neill, he's our backup quarterback. We made a concerted effort to go out and actually get 2 quarterbacks in the portal, which is important because in previous years, we've lost our starter and then we've really had nothing behind him. So Danny O'Neill was a starter at San Diego State last year. He's got several years of eligibility. He's a smaller build guy, but very, very quick, really can use his legs. And got a pretty decent arm. Nothing we've really seen a ton yet, but now with a whole week to game plan for him, I think that's certainly going to be there. The running backs are kind of somewhat star power for the Badgers. Dylan Jones is the name to remember. He's going to be the starter. There's a guy that will get a lot of carries in this game. Defensive side of the ball, Mason Reiger. He's our defensive end transfer out of Louisville. And Preston Zachman is our safety, who's now in his 4th year. He's been one of the journeyman guys of this team. He played kind of alongside Hunter Wohler, who's now in the NFL. But now he's the guy. He's leading the defense. And then the other one I mentioned is Ricardo Hallman, our top cornerback, back for another year. 7 picks 2 years ago. Didn't have the greatest year last year, but we've got some really good pieces on this team. But yeah, Dylan Jones is probably going to be the guy that Blue Raider fans are going to hear the most. He's going to get a lot of carries.
Well, on top of that, I want to know about some threats on the outside. I know you're bringing in the new quarterback this week, trying to see what you really have there. Do you feel confident on what you have in the skill position outside your starters?
Yeah, last week, I think 6 or 7 different guys caught passes. It was actually really nice. The catch distribution was pretty strong last week. Our top receiver, Vinny Anthony, was our leading receiver last year. He's back. He's our deep kind of outside threat. He's very versatile, really good hands. Then we brought in Jaden Ballard on the other side, an Ohio State transfer that didn't really get playing time at Ohio State, but now we're with us. He technically wasn't listed as a starter, but he got 3 catches last week. He's in essence a starter. In the slot, Trech Kekahuna, the guy that played at Bishop Gorman in Las Vegas, he's now in his 2nd year. So yeah, we have a lot of different weapons. We've got a tight end, Lance Mason, who came in through the transfer portal after we lost Tanner Koziel we got him in the portal and then lost him, but another story for another day. But yeah, we've got quite a bit. And honestly, our receiving core, Badger fans feel pretty good about it. There's depth. And there's just a lot of people that can contribute. And you couple that with our offensive coordinator and the system that he's running, very multiple, a lot of different mesh patterns. This past week, we saw several go routes and hitches and all kinds of different types of routes that we're not used to seeing, which opens up the field a bit more. And if Danny O'Neill can do what he needs to do and can game plan all week and use his skills, I think we definitely have the skill position ability to be a threatening team to any team we play.
When I look back, and I didn't get to watch that game in its entirety, your 17-0 win against Miami of Ohio in week 1, talk about that offense. I believe the first possession, real quick, you get a first down, and then it's a punt. And then the next drive, you go 15 plays, field goal. Your next drive is 13 plays. It gets stunted at the end. You have to punt. I can't help but see you're putting up, I think it's 20 plus first downs. The yards are, you're inkling close to 400. Like you said, a balanced attack, rush, pass, but you're only getting 17 points. I guess where I'm getting at is finishing those drives. Do you think that's the most vulnerable Wisconsin is just being able to put it into the end zone? And again, I know the season's young and they're still ironing out some of those details, but I can't help but observe that the offense looks good on paper, just not on the scoreboard.
Yeah, I think that's certainly one of the biggest issues that we saw last week as well. Ultimately, I think the reason for that, truthfully, was the poor play of the offensive line. I mean, we're talking it was bad. And Wisconsin is known for their offensive line play. Again, we lost our left tackle in the spring. We got in a guy named Davis Heinzen from, a G5 type school. He wasn't good. He was, in fact, really bad. And it affected a lot of things. It affected, Billy Edwards missed a couple of good open reads because he was under a lot of pressure. There were times I went back and watched the All-22 and every throw that Billy Edwards made, and he was 6 of 13, but he really had a pretty decent game. He was just under insane pressure and had to make quick decisions. And then Danny O'Neal was also under pressure. We couldn't get the run game really going. That was a big issue last week because the offensive line played so poorly. I think it was a lot of missed assignments. When I go back and look at the film, I think there's definitely a lot of coachable moments. We had, 2 guys blocking the same person. Like, there was just times when we clearly made a mistake. So the offensive line should improve. That's one of the reasons we had trouble punching it in as first points. Like, our offensive line play was poor. Outside of that, though, I think the scheme and the offense will score points. It's a team we expected to average close to 30 points a game. I think we're going to do that. Obviously, we're going to score hopefully a lot of points this week, and we'll score, especially when Billy Edwards comes back and is healthy. But if the offensive line play can get cleaned up, I don't think scoring is going to be that much of a problem because there are a lot of good pieces here. That was a bit of an anomaly, definitely some drives. And I mean, Danny O'Neal's first drive when he came in the game after the injury, he led us down the field on the 5-yard line. He threw a horrific interception in the end zone, just an absolute howler of a throw, something you would never see a quarterback make. But he did, and that cost us 7 points. If Billy Edwards stays in the game, most Badger fans, and myself included, think we would have scored 31 or 38 points. So I don't think the offense is an issue as much as it shows on that film, but because of that line play.
Here's probably the toughest question you're going to have, and I need to know it because our offense struggled this last week. Is there any vulnerability on the defensive side of the ball? Is there any way that you think MTSU could get some sort of momentum, or what the word we're looking for this week is consistency? Where might we find that on the defense?
Yeah, look, with how things went last week, doesn't look like there is. Historically, in the Luke Fickell era, the issue has been our ability to cause disruption up front, especially with our defensive tackles have been fairly weak, undersized, and teams have been able to move the ball against us. Mobile quarterbacks tend to give us problems, but we just faced the mobile quarterback and we shut him down, and Daquan Finn. So I would say normally the defensive line is an issue. Secondary, not really an issue. We've got really good players throughout the secondary. Linebackers are really good as well. But if our defensive line played like they did last week, I honestly, we shut out them. I don't know where Middle Tennessee is going to score points unless gadget plays work for you and trick plays work. But the speed on this defense and frankly, the way that those ends are playing right now, it's going to be very, very difficult. So I think the vulnerability is to go right up the middle, run up the middle and see if you can get something. If you can get push against our defensive line, that's going to be where you might be able to expose us. But if those guys are playing well, it's going to be very difficult on your guys.
Yeah, I think arguably the best defense that we're going to face all season long, and then really arguably it's not even a fair term. I think it's without a doubt playing a Big Ten defense versus what we face in Conference USA. But let's get into some of these keys to the game for you guys. And before we do that, we got to thank our sponsor, Trevor Haggard at State Farm. And when life happens, you want someone in your corner who actually knows your name. And that's where Trevor Haggard State Farm comes in. Whether it's protecting your car, your home, or your family's future, Trevor and his team are right here in Murfreesboro ready to help. So don't settle for some 1-800 number. Call a neighbor who cares. Call Trevor Haggard State Farm today and let them help you protect what matters most. Trevor Haggard State Farm, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. And let's talk about those keys to the game there, Rajeev. You got 2 of them for us.
Yeah, so first one, we've got to run the ball, and we've got to run the ball a lot better. We averaged 3.8 yards per carry last week against Miami of Ohio. That's unacceptable. And every Badger fan is looking at the offensive line. It was an issue in week 1. It's got to get a lot better. We never really established the run. And even when we did open up holes, sometimes our young running backs, they're great. Dylan Jones, Darian Dupree, Cade Yakimelli, good running backs. But Dylan Jones, who's our starter, just his vision wasn't quite there. I think it's just going to take a little time. Ultimately, it's a new system, whole new zone. We now use a zone blocking scheme, which we didn't in the past. So this Jeff Grimes offense is different. It's going to take some time. But if this Badger offense is going to be successful in 2025, we have to be able to run the ball. And everything's predicated on that. So this is that game where we need to really figure those things out, really use it as, I hate to say this on your show, but it's as a good practice. Like, we need to be able to dominate Middle Tennessee State, and we're going to run the ball a lot, in my opinion. Plus, again, we've got a backup quarterback. So it's running the ball well. I'd like to see over 5 yards of carry at least. And really establishing what that offensive line shuffle is going to be, because our left tackle was so poor last week. We've been seeing some things this week that we're going to make some shifts around, and we need to test some things out. We really need to get this line working. So we've got to run the ball often and effectively.
And something to go into your next key is helping that new quarterback of yours. I mean, if you keep the ball out of his hand and keep the ball on the ground, you got to feel comfortable that he himself can get in a rhythm, even if he's making a few passes per drive.
Yeah, and he's a confident kind of almost borderline like cocky kind of guy, which is good. He's got that edge, he's got that sort of athletic, arrogance is what Luke Fickell actually said in his press conference this week. So, but yeah, and he's going to make the throws. He's also a really, really big weapon with his legs. What I'm worried about is I don't want him to get injured, because we're already lost one quarterback. So I hope he doesn't try too much, but he is a very agile, very athletic guy who can make the throws. Doesn't really have some of those like long, deep outs, like across the field. He can't throw those too accurately, but he did throw some long balls, missed a couple, but he's definitely got some pretty good ability and decent decision-making. But now with a whole week of game planning, Jeff Grimes has got to draw up a system that's going to work for him. And if Billy Edwards is not back for the Alabama game, which is next week or into the future, or if he gets injured again, because this is a knee sprain that could linger most of the year, we've got to get Danny O'Neal into this system and comfortable to where if he does have to come in and play again, he can do that. And that's why it's so important that we focus on this offense. It's running the ball, and it's putting Danny O'Neal in situations where he can win, where he can make good throws, make easy reads, and get his confidence up. He's confident, but we're playing Alabama next week, and he might be the quarterback. So that's really, really important to just build that up a little bit and protect him, but also give him that confidence, make some good throws, and hopefully design a good system that's going to be beneficial to him.
Rajeev, much like Trevor Haggard and his State Farm insurance can be an X factor for you and your insurance needs, but I know the X factor for you guys, I would have, going into our conversation, my guess was O'Neal would be the X factor, but I know you're taking it a different route. I'm interested to hear who your X factor is for the Badgers.
Yeah, so look, pass rush has been a real issue for the Badgers in the last couple of years, and we needed to improve that. We went out and got Mason Reiger out of Louisville. Last week, he had 3 tackles, a half a sack, but he was so disruptive. I mean, his motor is insane. His skill, he looks like he has like a TJ Watt type of a ceiling. And that's pretty, he obviously both the Watt brothers played at Wisconsin, and it's a very high bar. But this kind of a guy, this guy could play on Sundays. And what we're really hoping for is another shutout. That'd be fantastic. And because the offensive issues that we're kind of having a little bit here and there with the backup quarterback, the more we can be dominant defensively, and with a guy like Mason Reiger being that guy that if he can go out there and get a couple more sacks, be disruptive, tackles for loss, and really frustrate Middle Tennessee State, that's going to give our offense the calm ability to just work through their progressions, figure out what their issues are, shuffle the line a little bit, try some things out, and really get this offense rolling. But to me, like, defense was so good last week. And if Mason Reiger can be as disruptive as he was last week, and even more so improve some of these numbers, it's going to be very, very hard for you guys to score. And that's going to put all Badger fans at ease, which is why I made him the X factor. Like, we haven't had a pass rush recently. We do now. And I'm telling you, he is going to be a serious, serious player.
I can't help, and you just alluded to it a little bit ago, your week 3 matchup, you go to Tuscaloosa. How are you feeling about that? I guess that aspect, and I'm asking more from an MTSU perspective. Is there a possibility where this game gets overlooked? Are you guys, as a fan base, are you that far ahead already?
I would say if we would have had a blowout victory this past week, that we could have seen that. But honestly, with how poor some of the team played, really just the offensive line, and how exciting the defense was, I think everybody's ready to see that again. And I think they're going to really use this game to kind of tune things up and to try different things. And Luke Fickell was even asked about this in his press conference today. And he was like, there's so much leadership on this team. There's so much experience. He doesn't see it as an issue at all. I think there's clear focus on getting it right this week, cleaning up the mistakes from last week. And that's the focus before we move on to Alabama. Obviously, that's going to be a brutally tough game. But after last week, they look like they can definitely be beatable. But it's really about fine-tuning things this week because there are some problems that have to be solved.
Well, as we wrap it up here, the Vegas, the opening odds, a little over 4 touchdowns. I believe it's 28.5. I'm sure that's going to move throughout the week, a little behind the scenes. This isn't Friday when this is released, but as that gets closer to game time, I'm sure that line I assume is going to creep up a little bit. Rajeev, I don't know if you're a betting man, so I don't want to put you on that block, but okay. So tell me, is 4 touchdowns, is that reasonable? Do you feel like that's an easy cover because of all the reasons you listed?
So I don't love the line. I wish it was like more like 23 or 24, but 28.5, like I would still take the Badgers. I'm staying off of it because I don't love the line myself. And I do make pet picks every week. That being said, with the defense that we displayed last week, I honestly, if you guys scored 10 points, that would not surprise me at all, or even nothing. Given how many points you allowed to Austin Peay last week, that is also thinking, I feel like there's a lot of Badger fans that are expecting this to be like a, 52, 55 type of a game so I think, I do think we're going to cover. I don't love the line as far as making the bet, but I do think we're going to cover because of the defense. And frankly, our offense has a lot to prove, and I think they're going to come out swinging this week.
The theme this week on the Blue Raider podcast has been pessimism. And so I'm with you. The 4 touchdowns is a very hard number to really pull the trigger on. The number I care about is that over under at 45.5. And the reason being, I don't know that MTSU can score, and I don't know that Wisconsin can score that much. And for the reason of my pessimistic viewpoint this week, I don't know that Wisconsin has proven that they can score 45, but I know that MTSU has proven that they can't score a point. So with that being said, if you want any betting advice from this show today, I love the under at 45.5, but I'm with you. Stay the hell away from 28.5. I think that number is too scary. If you see it creep down, I think I'm with you. I think you might ride that ship. If it goes up, I think that gets a little scary just because of you don't know what Wisconsin's got with the backup quarterback play. But Rajeev, I appreciate you for taking the time to join us today. Real quick, for those that are listening that might be interested in checking out your guys' show, The Bucky Report, where can we find it? What's the upload schedule like? And of course, plug those socials for us.
Yeah, so we're at the Bucky Report on all the socials, Twitter, of course, and YouTube, anywhere you can get your podcast. So we do a live show on YouTube every Sunday evening. Generally, the time changes, but it's typically around 7 or 8 o'clock Eastern time, sometimes a little bit later. And then we do a kind of a preview, prediction, and 3 big things. We call it 3 big things, our keys of the game, on Wednesdays. And then a new show that I actually just dropped, which we were just talking about gambling, is it's called Saturday Locks. It's on the Bucky Report channel. It comes out every Friday. I started, my first episode was last week. I went 4-0 in week 1, hit all 4 of my picks. So I'll be doing 4 or 5 picks every week on Friday. So go check that out if you're interested in the sports betting stuff. I live in Las Vegas. I'm all about it. But yeah, Sunday nights are our live show on the Bucky Report.
Awesome stuff, Rajeev. I appreciate you so much for joining us today. And of course, best of luck to Wisconsin this Saturday.
That sounds good. Thanks for having me.
Thanks again to Rajeev for joining us from the Bucky Report. Thanks to you, the listener, for following us today. If you're not already, make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube and, of course, all of our socials at Blue Raider Pod. And we will not be having our live press conference because of the road trip, but don't miss us next Tuesday where we'll have a reaction from the Week 2 matchup against Wisconsin and, of course, a little preview ahead for that Nevada road trip. Until next time, go Blue.